Hello and welcome to the 17th in this series of RightConnect how-to tutorial videos. My name is Guy Rounce and I'll be taking you through this week's subject, which will deal with the sectioning tools that are available in Deep Exploration. The ability to section models and scenes is something that is a staple part of any CAD system, and this is no different in the Deep Exploration visualization system. The sectioning tool in Deep Exploration can be used across all levels of output, as it's often very important to show internal details in markups, technical illustrations, renderings, and animations. This tutorial will show you the extensive tools available in Deep Exploration and some of the advanced options that users can advantage when using these tools. So for this tutorial, you're going to need the 3D Editor toolbar, which can be seen here, and also the Tool Assistant, which by default can be found in this location in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. So there are two main sectioning tools in Deep Exploration. This icon here is the cross-section tool, which we will deal with first in this tutorial, and second is the section cut tool, which is the icon next door. If I activate the cross-section tool here, you'll see that on the screen I get a plane that has cut through my model. And if we look down in the Tool Assistant, we now have all of these different categories of options that will help us specify different aspects of this cross-section. It's worth noting at this point that the section is going through all components in the scene, and that is not something that we can change with this cross-sectioning tool. So looking at this list of options, let's work our way from the bottom up. First is Snap. This allows transition between different planes that the section can go through and the ability to flip the direction of the visibility of the section. These options are quite self-explanatory, and you can see here as I flick through the options, the section changes on the screen between two of the three X, Y and Z planes. You can also see that I can move the position of the section plane by simply dragging it on the viewport. And additionally to this, if I hover over the top or the bottom area of the plane, I can rotate the plane to adjust the angle of the section. Next in the list is Interactive Plane Style. So this area allows you to change the appearance of the plane that creates the exact position of the section through the model. You can see, as I change the opacity value, how the plane changes from being completely transparent to completely solid in appearance. Additionally here, once we move away from the transparency, we can adjust the color of the plane using this icon and the usual Deep Exploration color adjustment dialog box. Next in the list of section options is Structural Settings. Now we will come back to this one as it's best demonstrated with the other sectioning tool we saw at the beginning of this tutorial. Next in the list is Cap Settings. Here we have the ability to create or change the appearance of the surface that actually represents the sliced through material. If I check and uncheck the Create Caps box at the top, you will see the model toggling between having the cut component surface represented or not. If you choose to have the caps on, then you can adjust those caps. For example, you could have the material of the individual components, as you can see here on the screen, or you could pick one of the materials that's already being used in the scene from this drop-down list and have that material represent all sectioned components. Or you could choose the default cross-section material and then again go to the usual color adjustment dialog box and specify any color you want. The next section deals with the outline created when you section a model. Here you can see the black outline on each of the sectioned components, and we can toggle that on or off depending on preference. The thickness of the outline can also be changed, as you can see here. And again, by going to the default color adjustment dialog box, we can change the color of that outline as well. So you can see from those tools that we have gone through already that you have a huge amount of control over the details of the cross sections and how you represent them in the model. Through these settings, you could create very realistic cross-sections for renderings that make the model actually look like it's been cut in half, or you could create sections that fit more of an illustration profile with outlines and different colors for different parts of the scene. Finally, we have the cross-section settings area, and we can control turning the section on and off here, and also finalizing the section by confirming to cut through the model using this cut button. I have another scene here to show the second of the section cutting tools. As you can see from the scene tree, it's made up of only 3 components, 2 boxes and 1 sphere. If I activate this section cutting tool, you can see as before my options come up in the Tool Assistant. Some of the same options are here regarding the outline of the part or the cap settings, but there is a different option at the top called Cutting Box. This deals with the box you can currently see in the viewport. Firstly, we have the ability to turn the box on or off, which is essentially activating or deactivating the entire tool. With the tool activated, the box appears in the viewport, and without any other components selected, it will encompass all parts in the scene. Now, various surfaces on the box can be adjusted by dragging them in the viewport, as you can see here. Going back to the Tool Assistant, you can change the position of the box based on dividing the scene into quarters. I could change from cutting the top half of the scene to the bottom half of the scene, like so, and then adjust that box. And if I want to take it a step further, I can divide the bottom half of the scene into 2 again, and by picking the second quarter, I then have 2 faces in which I can use to adjust the cutting box. And I could go 1 step further again and divide the scene into 1/8 with this button here. Once I've decided upon the area I want to cut, then I can simply hit the cut button and the section is created through the scene, as you can see here. Now, one thing you can do with this tool that you cannot do with the other cross-section tool is to cut individual components. If I undo the section we just created and turn the box back on, I can then go and select one component, and if required, I can then cut that single part like so. Now, this can be a very valuable tool if you want to cut away an outer casing and just show the internal components of that casing without sections. Now, once you have cut a component, that cut is saved into the geometry of the part, and unless you specify differently, your component will have that section permanently cut out of it. To specify differently, you can go to the structural settings here. If I select box number 1 and choose top half and then cut, I will lose the top half of that box. If I select keep original parts, however, and the default position, which is group under, and then select cut, you can see that something different happens. I now have an expandable node in the scene tree where I can hide or show either the original part without the section or the new part which has the section cut out of it. If I then go to box number 2, I can turn the box on, choose bottom half and first quarter, keep original parts, but this time I'll select insert adjacent to original and then cut. This time, instead of the expandable node, I get the 2 parts in the scene tree one after the other, and I can just switch between those 2 components. The third option here will create a new group or subassembly in my scene tree which will contain my sectioned components. Now, you can also go 1 step further here by keeping the negative cut. The negative cut of the section is the part that you actually cut away. So in the case of this sphere, I'll go to the bottom half and first quarter, and also keep negative cut, and in both areas I'll select group under. Now, here you can see that I now have 3 components: the original with no section, the part with the quarter section cut out of it, and also another part which is just the quarter section that's been cut away. So that's an overview of the 2 section cutting tools and their various options. Let's now have a look at some examples of the section cutting tool in use in various outputs from Deep Exploration. These renderings show the internal workings of this gearbox and are realistic enough to look like the casings have actually had areas cut out of them. You can see here that there are no outlays being used for these sections, and the caps being used are the materials of the actual components. This markup shows a cross-section that's being captured in a model view, and it draws attention to some internal details that need to be modified or checked by the engineer. These technical illustrations, like the renderings we just saw, have sections that are cut only into the casing components, so we can then see some of the internal details. In this case, you can see good use of the thick outlines to draw attention to the areas that have been cut away. And finally, this short section of animation shows firstly the components without sections, and then transitions into having sections cut out of some of the components, to again show internal details. This has been achieved by choosing the option to keep the original parts as well as the negative cuts, and then hiding and showing the appropriate parts during the creation of the various animation steps. So that wraps up this particular tutorial video. We hope this has been of some help to you, and you've got some good insight into how you can use the sectioning tools of Deep Exploration. If you would like to see some examples of renderings, technical illustrations and animations, some of which contain sections, that have all been created in Deep Exploration, then please check out my profile, which can be seen in the list of contributors on the Deep Exploration blog. My name is Guy Rounce. Thanks for watching this 17th tutorial in our series, and please let us know if there are any Deep Exploration subjects you would like to see covered in these videos in the future.